Calling to order the October 16th, 2018 Lake Mills City Council. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Fields?
Here.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Here.
Mr. Foster?
Here.
Mr. Fritsch?
Here.
Ms. Schmidt?
Here. Corrections and/or approval of the regular and budget work session City Council minutes of October 2nd, 2018. I think we can do them together. So if I can get a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
And second, thank you. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Fritsch?
Aye.
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay. On correspondence, I just want to mention that this Friday, October 19th at 4 o'clock is our city chat at the Public Library, second floor. Public is invited, and we made this one at 4 o'clock for those people who work until 4 o'clock, and looking at the next one that we have, it being back in the morning and alternating from that. So that's kind of the plan. There was a letter from Patricia Cicero. Do we need to mention anything about that grant, the 2019 grant, or have you?
We'll need to talk about it at some point in time.
Should we
probably
put it on a future agenda then?
Yep, that's probably what
Okay,
we need to
then
do.
we'll move that to the end of the meeting for future agenda items. All right. And, okay. Anybody else have correspondence? No? Okay. One of the things that people ask me repeatedly on the street are questions about what we're doing with Sandy Beach, which is why we have put item 8B on the agenda tonight. So hopefully that will answer a lot of questions that people in the city have had. We'll do that at that time. Moving to item number 5. Questions and public comment. I'll find my little thing here. The public is encouraged to address the council at this time regarding items on the agenda. Public comment may also be made at this time on items that are not on the agenda if you have registered with the city clerk before the meeting has been called to order. The state's open meeting law discourages action by the council on items not listed on the agenda. Please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes and state your name and address when starting your comments, and fill out the sign-in sheet provided on the podium. Is there anyone that would like to address the council at this time? And I see no one approaching the podium, so we'll close questions and public comment. City Manager's report.
You received the general fund check register for September,
Yep.
utilities check register, a letter from Main Street, a letter from the band, both about budgets, and then the PD monthly report. Anticipate that composting will be on the next Public Works Board agenda, so
Oh, really?
we'll be focusing mainly on site design and things along that line.
Okay.
South Main Street, tomorrow's our meeting at DOT for a preliminary review of the bids with contractors,
What time is that?
2 o'clock.
Okay. Is that in Madison?
Yep.
So then you'll just have enough time to get back here for the, and Dan, what time did we say that is? 5:30?
Yeah, 5:30.
For the 5:30 meeting? We're trying to keep you on your toes, moving from here to there.
I'm used to it by now.
Yes, I know you are. So,
The bid is actually going to be opened, November 14th or 13th?
I think
It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday that week.
so what happens tomorrow at that meeting?
They address all the questions that the contractors have about the bid.
Oh, it's more for them than it is for us.
Yes, it's to help them structure their bid.
Gotcha. But it helps to be there so you can help answer questions.
That's, they'll ask questions and.
Will Paul be going with you to that as well?
Yeah.
Any other staff or just?
Dwayne?
And Dwayne, okay. Oh, him too?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to be running with your roller skates on too, Dan?
And we'll be okay.
All right.
Does it look like we will have some bids?
I think so. Been hearing about people coming through to try and figure out how to set up their bids. So yeah, I think there will be bids this time.
That's good.
Good. Well, we sure hope so. Everybody at home, pray tonight for bids so we can get South Main Street and Mulberry Street and everything else we have on tap for next year going. We need your help. Okay.
Mulberry Street's still under construction. The street maintenance contracts I sent you an email that spelled out all the details of what's left to do. There's one item that's still kind of outstanding, and that's the intercon. They're supposed to do a bunch of patching on South Main Street. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how that goes.
They're doing it because it's bad?
Yes.
Okay.
When they did work down there, they diverted traffic and created some soft spots, so they'll be fixing those.
Okay.
But they might fault us, and then we'll have to bill them.
Yeah. Never a dull moment.
They started working on the bike trail again. We're trying to get the shoulders out to the right distance so that you don't fall off down into the ditch, and
Yeah.
get it graded and seeded so that maybe something will grow before the end of the year. Clean boats, clean water, that was the email from Patricia Cicero, which is the grant that we're looking at. We've done that for several years now in cooperation with the town. Haven't heard from Hope, but yeah, if we are sure we want to do it, then I'll have the grant applicant, let her know, and we'll pass the resolution saying, yeah, that we're filing. TID number 7, we got the Stiles annexation, which has been tabled.
Okay, so
We do have the state report now that says that it's in the public interest, so we can take that off the table tonight and approve that.
okay.
We've been reviewing the north side drainage, which is a significant issue. I didn't realize how much actually drained down through that outer pond in Prairie Avenue area. It's pretty substantial.
Is that going to be on a future agenda?
Well,
Or does
no,
that go to
it'll be
Public
part
Works?
of the overall development research and site planning that we do when someone comes in to build in TID number 7.
Would that
So-
item go to the Public Works Board for their information?
It went to the Joint Review Board for the final approval. And what we do is we do it on a site plan by site plan basis. So a lot of the information the Public Works Board has had before, because it's still consistent with the with the Newman development, which I think the last name was Rock's Edge. Still very consistent with that public infrastructure, so it's consistent with what they've seen in the past. But generally what we do is on a developer by developer basis. One of the property owners, Stiles, is pretty significant. He's discussed a more regional concept, which in our opinion is not a bad idea. It's just that most developers don't want to pay for a large regional one when they
Right.
only need a small local one. So I guess we'll see how that works out.
If the plan comes in and it is different than it was under Newman, then will it go to the planning, to the?
Well, it'll go to the Public Works Board
Good.
eventually for bids and that type of stuff, so yeah.
Good, okay, good.
We had our last LSL reporting done, and we
Okay, tell me again, what?
lead service laterals.
Oh, yes, okay. Don't throw at me.
And we haven't heard
I'm not good
anything
at
from the
those.
DNR, so, you know, our deadline was July, and we were waiting for our NOV, and we haven't heard anything yet, so we're up over 80% now, so well over 80% now, so I'm anticipating that they will not take any action. Dan was right this time.
Don't poke the bear.
We're praying on this one too?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Radium. We have our second packer test done, and we're waiting for the results. They haven't been necessarily very encouraging, so we may have to take a third packer test. I guess we'll wait and see. But at this point, we're kind of anticipating there'll be a third. Had a lot of meters put in. We haven't turned on the AMI yet, but we're getting close. Cross connections, we're still far off, particularly seeing as our requirement was January 1st. So we're going to have to ramp up the enforcement on people who aren't providing their cross connection inspections.
Are we going to have to pull some staff off of certain places and put them on that to get that completed? We don't have enough staff to pull.
Well, where would you pull them from?
I will. From
That's
the
good.
Parks
That's a good
Department?
question. It's not like you can let up on anything else. Let's go to the next one. You got corrosion control. So they're working on corrosion control. We're working on cross connections, but a certain amount of this involves the public participation, particularly cross connections. You, the property owner, have to complete your cross connection inspection and submit it to the city. That's part of the code. That's a requirement. You were noticed. We were noticed by the DNR. We have to have that done. We have sent out notice to the homeowner. You know, at that point in time, then we have to start thinking, okay, what's our next step? Do we shut their water off?
Maybe if they don't do what we have to have them do.
You know, we'll continue to try and work through the process. We had been talking about having Jasmine make phone calls, but she's taking another job now, so
Oh, no.
we'll have to find someone else. So we're working through the process. Corrosion control, the guys have started designing the test machine. You know, we had to harvest our lead pipe, and then we have to put it in a system where the water runs through it, and then we have to have the 3 different types of methods for running, you know, the 3 different types of chemicals that we run through it. There's one that's all phosphate, and then 2 mixes, orthophosphates. One's I think at an 80-20, and one's which is 80 ortho and 20 phosphate, and then we have another one that's 80 phosphate, 20 ortho, which I think is the one that'll end up being, but we'll run those tests. I think they also have to have the base one, right?
Yeah, basically.
We're having some issues with a wastewater permit that we're working through. We'll try and get that finalized by the end of the year. Dan and Paul are working on that. Union negotiations are continuing. The next meeting is October 30th. We have a staff meeting this Friday to go over the Riverwood construction plans and plats that we have to start submitting for construction in the next building season. Misty is continuing to keep on the health insurance, and we have some meetings coming up, and then we'll be in the we have to do open enrollment.
Is everything going okay with that?
Yeah, it's going good. I think once they realized that Dean was going to be the low price leader at the state plan, and that it would cost them $128 a month, whereas under ours, it doesn't cost them that. They were a little bit more receptive to the idea, so. The Rock Lake Activity Center, we have everything out to them. They have not returned the documents, the signed documents. So we have no idea where that's at. We anticipate that that's coming back.
Can I just make a comment on that? Because I have had some people ask me about that. The money that we're using for the Rock Lake Activity Center is not coming, it will not increase taxes because we're not putting it on the tax roll.
That's right.
It's from money that we did not spend in the past,
Right.
and we also have a limit on how much of that money we can keep, and we're close to that limit, so this actually
This is
kind
spend down.
it does two things. It brings that down, and it helps hold that land for us for several years.
Yeah, I've written about it in the past. I think it's even in the budget address, but the unreserved fund balance is a very important feature in government, and generally the reserves are set by the Government Accounting Standards Board, GASB, and after 2010, they adjusted it from 15 to 25 to 25 to 35. And we're actually, I think if you read the last audit, I think we were in the 40s. So we were in a position to look at spending some money for certain types. You don't want to put it into operations, and you don't want to have a big levy cut, because then that holds you down in the future because it's an incremental. So you want to look at the things that you want to accomplish in that time period. So that was a good use for that money, as some of the other things that we've discussed, like buying the Jaeger property, that was a good use for that money. It gets us kick-started down there, and there are some other things that we've been looking at doing. Good uses for that type of money, capital purchases, those types of things. But operations, you don't want to do that. Just like you don't want to borrow money for operations. You don't want to impact your tax levy, and you don't want to have an operations which is, salaries this year that's gone, and have debt on that for 10 or 15 or 20 years. So bad ideas. So we stick to very standard, strong government accountability standards, and we make sure that we follow the plan according to what's been put before us by the council.
So nobody's taxes are going to be higher because we did that.
That's right. That will not impact your
Just to make it
taxes next
clear.
year because we did that.
Yeah,
Yep.
because that money is not on the tax rolls.
Right.
So-
There is some changes in the levy limits, so you'll notice that the ordinance will change, and it'll change again because the state is working with the league and cities to figure out how they're going to handle the personal property tax changes. So historically, the personal property tax was just included in with all the other property tax, and that was part of your levy. Well, now that they've taken it out and they're making it a payment from the state as an aid, they dropped the levy the equal amount. So we had $35,000 worth of personal property. We had to subtract that from our levy. And of course, then the multiplier that goes against it is also reduced. So there are several cascading numbers that change because of that change. They have come closer to paying us the required amount. It's still not fully determined where it's at and where it's going. But they're working on it. So we're still anticipating seeing changes up until the last budget day. Just trying to figure out how much applies to TIDs, how much applies to the actual levy, and those types of things. So the first time we found out about it, we took out $35,000. Then there was only 22 is actually from the general levy, the other 12 is from TIDS, and now they came back and said, yeah, well, we're only gonna give you credit for 5 in the TIDS, and so it looks weird. We're not sure what the calculations are. Betsy's gonna follow up on that. Other than that, any questions?
Just a couple things. You mentioned the letter from the Main Street program and the letter from the city band, just to verify that the amounts that we've given in the past are in the budget again this coming year.
Yes.
So those letters are the amounts that are in the budget. And the other thing I thought, could you just take a quick 30 seconds or less to mention to the public again about where do the leaves belong?
Paul's item. The leaves go on the tree lawn.
Not
They do not go in the
street.
gutter.
Right. I think what happens is people move here from other communities, where in those communities, the leaves were put in the street. And then we have to reteach them what we do, because when you put them in the street, they get washed into the,
Catch basins.
yeah, and also it gets washed into the lake if you're on one of the hills that goes into the lake.
We're a priority watershed, so that drains into the Rock. So Rock Lake, Rock Creek, and the Crawfish all drain into that. So it's a priority watershed designation by the state. So we try and keep as much phosphorus, which leaves add to it, as possible. The other item is that, if you're out there, and I don't know if you read recently, but the mayor in Madison was telling people, we don't have enough people. You have to get out there and clean the leaves out of the catch basins yourself. And
Oh, I didn't
so
hear
if you
that.
don't put leaves in the gutter, there will be some because they're falling off the street trees. But the less you have in the gutter, the less chance you have of having flooding problems because your stormwater system is plugged with leaves. So there's a combination of water quality and just the functioning system to make sure that the water drains away. So from our standpoint, it's important to keep it on the tree lawn. We bought that piece of equipment specifically to be able to take it off the tree lawn. And I know that we do run a street sweeper in front of it to clean up what's on the curb before we do it, but we prefer the vast majority of it to be on the tree lawn.
And they can put leaves on now until the snow comes.
First snow.
And, so it's like about
Or
one.
you can take it to the yard waste center yourself.
Yes. But, okay, well, that's good. And if you see somebody that's raking them into the road, maybe nicely, say, oh, by the way, did you know? Because some people just don't know. So any help you can give would be appreciated.
A couple of years ago on Grove Street, we had a car pull into a pile of leaves raked into the gutter, and the muffler started the leaves on fire and burned the car up.
Oh, not good. Well, and you never know what's in a pile of leaves. There could be children in there,
Yep.
because kids play in leaves. So please don't drive over piles of leaves for more than one reason. Okay, that's all I have for the city manager. Does anybody else have anything? That was a very comprehensive report. Thank you. All right, acceptance of minutes of the Library Board of August 20th, 2018, and the Housing Authority of May 22, 2018, and Housing Authority June 26, 2018. They will be placed on file. And under council business, no licenses tonight.
No licenses tonight.
Wow, that's exciting. All right. We do have a board appointment. You have it, I don't have it up here, but it's for Cooper Buchholz, who has applied, and I have selected him to be our city council student representative. Cooper is a very busy student, but has an interest in government. He is also in the musical, which is why he's not here tonight, and will not be here the first meeting in November, because that's rehearsals of the final week of the play, or the musical. They're doing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, just for a little PR there, and they're hoping you all come to see it at the Lake Mills High School. But he will be with us the second meeting in November. So now I'd like to make a motion to approve him, right, or not?
To confirm your appointment.
Yeah. Is that right? We have to make a motion?
So
right?
move.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or? Okay, would you take the roll?
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Fritsch?
Aye.
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, that takes us to item B, discussion on Sandy Beach project. This is, as I mentioned earlier, have had people asking, what's happening, what's happening, what's happening. And the biggest piece of information is nothing's happening. One of the reasons I asked it to be put on tonight's agenda is because we are in the second reading of the budget. And I wanted to let the public know that there is nothing out other than what's always been in our budget for Sandy Beach maintenance and so forth. So there's nothing, council has not made any decisions on anything about Sandy Beach, which is why you haven't heard anything. We haven't done anything. We don't have money to do anything. But we are looking down the road. One thing I'll mention right up front, and I'll repeat it at the end, it's kind of been the consensus from the time we heard the report. There is, with this council, we can't speak for future councils, but this council does not have any interest in building cabins for rentals at Sandy Beach. And I've had people with with cabins that they rent who were concerned, and I said, don't be concerned, I'm not personally, and I think if you talk to the rest of the staff here, we don't have any interest in that at this time. Maybe a decade from now, another council might want to look into that, and we have no control over that. But at this point, that's not on the radar. If you look at the city budget, you will see that we not only have it for 2019, but we have directed the city manager to take the budget out 5 years. And the only thing we are reading in the budget is for next year. That's the only thing that this council will vote on at our next meeting. Will be the third reading. And at that time, we will vote on the 2019 budget. You can look at the budget and you'll see things for 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. It's like with the fire department. They want a fire truck. We don't put that in 1 year. We spread that over 3-4 years, and then at the end, we have enough for a fire truck. That's kind of the way we're approaching the Sandy Beach issue. We will probably not have any meeting discussing Sandy Beach until close to like June of next year, before we start doing budget for 2020. The first thing we're probably going to look at, and everything I'm saying is probably, because we have not made any decisions of any sort, but we think the first thing we'll be looking at the boat launch area that we talked about in the plan and the parking lot. So those will be the things that we'll probably be looking at in 2020. In 2021, if the council so chooses, we're kind of thinking about doing the restaurant renovation and changes that we want to do there. And don't ask us what they are. We don't know. We haven't done anything about that at this point, and it's too early for us to do that. Then in 22, there are other recreational facilities that need to be taken care of. Would be like the location of volleyball things and things like that. That would all be part of that. That has to come after we've decided what we're doing with the restaurant, because where the restaurant is placed will generate where these other things then will be put. We don't know anything about that at this time. And then The end of our phasing is the mobile home park, and that'll be probably done over 2 years, but we're down the road there for a while. We're kind of looking at 2023, and that'll be a major project, but there's nothing in the works for sooner than that, barring an emergency. Now, just like we didn't expect to rebuild the bridge by the VFW hall, if we have an emergency, that may move something somewhere or other. That's always the case. But as of right now, we're looking at 2023, maybe 2024. So we're out there a ways. I'll repeat one more time, we are not looking at doing the cabin rentals that were on the original plan. Have no interest in doing that. Maybe some future council down the road will, but not this council probably, at least not at this time. Questions by the council, comments, and Steve and Dan, you can chime in here too if you wish. Yes. Anybody on the council have any questions on what I just said? Or did I make a mistake in what I said and you want me to correct it? Because I do sometimes. So.
I would make sure that you understand that 2019, there's nothing for the renovation of Sandy Beach in it. The actual budget is stretched out over a number of years.
Repeat that, I didn't catch it. What?
That the budget for 2019 has absolutely nothing for the Sandy Beach renovation in it.
Right.
I don't know if that was absolutely clear, but
Okay.
over that 5-year period, there are some things in there that do involve that. If you look at the city manager's report for the redevelopment, the last page in that kind of lays out how it would be developed if you decided to do it. So it goes by year. So like 2020 would be the first phase. 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. And the way we're proposing to do it is like in the trailer parks. We would do it, we would close the trailer park on after Memorial Day, and we would start construction, and hopefully by the May of the next year, the construction that we had done would be done and we could open up the trailer park again. So,
Do you mean
2024 would,
You would close it after Labor Day or Memorial Day?
Labor Day.
Okay.
And after once school starts. And then we would do the construction basically in the fall and then finish it up in the spring and have it ready to go again before Memorial Day. And that way we could have the trailer park open for most of the regular time periods. That kind of gives you an idea of the time schedule and the months that we're looking at working at it on. It was done in a process that said, okay, this part has to be done first in order to be able to progress through it. And like Diane said, there are situations where that might change because of an emergency situation. The water and sewer is pretty bad up in the Pines part of the trailer park. But as an overall concept of the design, it was laid out in the most logical process to make it function. It also gives us the opportunity to use charges in the most efficient fashion. Keep your trailer park generating money, you come back and set up for the potential for parking, and then you continue on through the process, and then allowing the certain number of months up for every year in that time period for the trailer park to be open allows for addition to maintain that stream of revenue. So that was all very calculated in how we do that. Now the other memo that I sent out was the one on charges, and I didn't have a lot of time to work on that one, but I tried to make it as clear as possible, and as we continue to work through this concept, I'll be able to develop it a little bit further. But it's why you would charge charges rather than have it on the general property tax levy. Tried to go through that and make that clear, and I gave you some background on the original purchase and how it was set up. and it was actually paid for by fees. It wasn't on the property tax. And so we went, looked at it from that perspective, and then why it would be an appropriate idea to continue to use fees, and the equity theories behind using fees versus taxes. So that's in there. I am working on a debt capacity analysis. Hopefully I'll have that done by January. And then we can put all three of them together. I think, to a certain extent, we've got a conceptual structure together on how to do the improvements. There are, we haven't decided exactly how they're going to be, once you start designing and you go through all the processes, and then you guys get to look at them and make decisions, that all
Right.
can change.
Right.
But the biggest one is as it's structured right now in the budget, it's all property tax. There are no charges for all the improvements. And so that keeps us at the top of our debt capacity for a long period of time. So those are some things we'll want to sit down and be able to discuss. I believe is probably the most important feature of moving forward with the Sandy Beach project.
And just to reiterate, the council has not made any decisions on any of this yet. This is all projected ideas that, all of them may change, none of them may change, or it might be a mixture by the time we're done of what I just said tonight. But for those of you who were interested, that's what we have now. That's the picture we're looking at. And next spring, we'll be looking at the boat launch and the parking lot part and the fees and all of that. And then the council will have to decide if that's what they want to do. And when we decide, we'll tell Steve, and Steve will do it.
Yeah, I've been directed initially to provide the framework for the proposal, and that's what it is, but it's very conceptual.
Yes, it is. And it's a
So-
good concept from what I can see now, but it doesn't mean that we've talked about everything we need to talk about.
That's what I wanted to kind of get across. I'm used to kind of working this backwards. If you want to start this, say Labor Day 2020, Phase 1, if we go through whether there's public comment area, periods, applying for grants, figuring out fees, there's a conceptual design, so we may want to hash some things out, tweak things a little bit, kind of working it backwards. What would be a date that we would really need to start this process? If we're kind of putting this all in order, what are the timelines for each one of those steps?
I think April 15th is the date where we would want to do the peer grant.
That would be in 2018,
19.
or 19, I'm sorry, 19.
Yeah, so we'd want to have an idea of, are we moving forward with this enough to say, because every April is going to be that deadline.
So you basically
if
got
we're going to
6
do it in
months.
2020, we have to have that grant in, because that could pay a pretty substantial part of the initial peer relocation. If we continue to do like Clean Boats, Clean Water, or you have a boat washing facility, would be an important concept that we'd want to discuss whether we want to have in there, because then you have to have a high-pressure hot water system to be able to clean the boats and then capture the runoff and treat it appropriately.
So listening to this, we almost need to start this process by January.
Yep.
When we start breaking this down to figure out and commit to doing something.
Yep.
So we got to start working through this general idea, design, and saying this is what we want to move forward with. So we have that process done by April.
Yes.
So we got to get going.
Well, I would say by the end of January, you need to know if you're going to do this project or not. That's the cutoff date.
Okay, so we should, on the first meeting in January, we
And
should
then-
put this on the agenda to start discussions. discussion.
Maybe even a little sooner if we need to come up with a good idea by then to say what the scope, how big the scope's going to be on phase one.
I think he
December.
knows that.
Yeah.
I think, do we already have information on how big the scope is in phase one?
When you say scope, what do you mean by the scope? It's, what we were looking at is the 2 parking lots and the boat launch. So you're going to be shifting a lot of the, like the sand volleyball courts and everything to the west end will be shifted to the east end, and the east end becomes the boat launch, and then the boat launch facilities are totally separate from all the rest of the beach. So that kind of has to occur first along with the, so that then we can start setting up all the rest of it. So that the first scope is to get that boat launch and that parking lot set up. We'd like to do parking lots generally, once you're doing parking lots, it's best to do them all. So there were 3 phases that were parking lots. I say let's do them all right at the first snap.
But looking at the conceptual design here, if we're saying no cabins, I think we can tweak the layout a little bit.
Yes.
Definitely downsize the boat trailer parking area. By shifting everything just a little bit, we might be able to open a little bit more of that up and still keep a lot of green space on the east end. So, I mean, there's some things we just need to talk about and hammer out if there's options.
Well, there's a lot of stormwater that we need to work on, and we need to work around the Indian
Mounds. Whatever.
archaeological site.
Where is that in the park?
I think it's near the bathrooms, just to the east of the bathrooms and a little to the south.
Okay.
So there, as you work through those, that kind of conceptualizing, I don't know, right now the boat parking takes up a large portion of the existing parking lot. And so shifting them over, and keeping that parking lot the same and trying to keep a substantial number of parking off the Sandy Beach Road, because it's a narrow street, is a benefit to us. So being able to work around that, and the existing trees, there are some pretty substantial trees in that park. It doesn't lend itself to an easy.
But by downsizing the boat trailer parking, you're going to push more of the trailers out on the streets then.
Yeah.
And they by far take up a lot more space and a
Yeah,
lot
if you
more
have, if
challenging.
you have cars out there, it's a lot easier to deal with than it is boats, because if
Yep.
people are parking with trailers up and down that street, it's a pain.
Right.
So having a larger boat parking area is a benefit. And then, if we have to have cars up and down the street, we can have, it's easier to deal with. So we're trying to look at it from a much broader perspective. The lots for the trailer park are bigger, so they have 2 parking spaces instead of 1. And there are some additional parking spaces in the trailer park in certain areas that are set aside. I would say that there will be some tweaking, I'm sure, those types of concepts. And just when we get into starting design, the pier issue could impact us. That's why we're attending the meeting, and we want to make sure that our riparian rights are protected and those types of things. So from that standpoint, we want to make sure that we stay flexible enough. We don't get locked into, well, we don't want to do this or we do want to do this, because there are going to be a lot of competing interests. And to listen to them and try and understand what's going to work best for us in the long run is important. I don't want to get too locked in. I want to be able to lay it out. What I don't want to do is, yes, we're doing it, no, we're not. Yes, we are, no, we're not. Or we're going to fund it this way, no, we're not. Yes, we are, no, we're not. Those types of 180s just kill a guy. And you spend more money doing that than you do actually doing the project. And so if we're going to do it, then I want to face it and get it in there and get it completed. If we're not, then let's just move on.
We'll probably want to have our discussions begin already in December because we won't have our first meeting in January because January 1st is the first Tuesday. And also another wrinkle is by statute, the Plan Commission has to review whatever changes are done in a park or a public building before a final decision by the council can be made. So if we're going to start tweaking things to the point where we're locking ourselves in, we're going to have to give time for the Plan Commission to weigh in. And I would imagine also the Parks Board is going to want to have a voice as well. So probably the more time we build into our timeline, the better off we are.
Mhm. I agree.
So, I'm just looking at a calendar here, and I know this will come up later on the agenda, but, well, the second meeting in December is the 18th, which is far enough away from Christmas that we could do. Sometimes we don't have a second meeting in December when it falls real close to Christmas. So are we thinking maybe that would be the meeting we should do our first discussion of this?
Either that or the 4th.
Well, we already have, oh no. Yeah,
Why don't we plan earlier than
Well,
if there's flexibility?
Well, the problem is on the 4th, wait, maybe I'm wrong here. Well, we are going to have, the 4th is the budget, the December, the budget?
No.
goes-
November 6th
Okay.
is the budget.
Okay, I'm a month behind there.
December 4th is generally all the fund transfers to take care of what we didn't get done this year to transfer over to next year. We take care of the fees, generally some of the final contracts.
Well, and also we have your contract, your salary goes up on the 4th, right? That's on that agenda. But not a lot that has to be worked. Is there anything else? Okay, either the 4th or the 18th?
Yeah.
18th was better for me, just because I'm possibly traveling that first week.
Okay, so the 18th would be better. I think that's early enough, because we don't even have to make a decision till budget time on the exact stuff, but we need it for the
For the
grants
grants
and
and then for the
things.
different reviews.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's do the 18th.
I want to make sure that you understand that there's a pretty large chance that I won't be around much November, December, January. My son is going in for brain surgery to remove a tumor, and I will probably be the caretaker, my grandson, for that time period. And I guess it's they're going to cut him open from here to here and pull it off.
Oh, gosh.
And so I want to make, I'll be there as his caretaker, and so I don't know if I'll be here a lot in that time period.
But could we do some discussion amongst ourselves?
Yeah, Betsy and Brandon and Dustin can probably carry a lot of that.
Because you've already done a lot of the work of, the roughing and so forth. I think the stuff that, I think we could try to do it. If we run into something we need you for, we'll just postpone it to the next meeting and get an answer by that time. But you don't have any objection to us
No,
trying to do
no.
something ourselves?
No,
We'll
it's
try
better to
not
get it done
mess up
earlier than
too
it is
much.
later, because, when you're scrambling at the budget time to try and figure out all the other details, you lose a lot of information.
Right, okay. Well, then we'll kind of plan on that. We'll bring that up at the end of the meeting for the future agendas, and we'll get it on right away so that it, okay. Is that good enough for tonight then? All right, and we also have been told to move it because there's a Brewers game at 8 o'clock, so we have to get going here. All right, thank you for your input. If there's anything that you didn't get to say and you want to share it with Steve, please do that, or me. But we'll plan on getting the show on the road in December 19th. All right, discussion and decision on Class B beer and Class C wine license. and appointment of agent Underground Hub LLC, Agent Sherie Nelson. Do you have anything more to read on that?
I do have the motion title, because we do have a prepared motion for this one.
Okay, I have to bring that up. Do you have something to read right now? I think I lost mine, so I'm going to have to go back in here. There it is.
City Council Motion 18-10-2-1, authorizing the granting of a Class B beer and a Class C wine license to Underground Hub LLC, 128 East Madison Street, and approval of Sherie Nelson as agent.
Okay, Steve, should we just get a motion first? Okay, do I have a motion for this item?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Now, do you want to say something about it, Steve?
No, I don't. You have anything, Misty?
Well, Vicky brought to my attention in an earlier conversation, there's an error in the application. The correct address for the site is 128 East Madison Street. That was correct in the notice that was provided, as well as in the motion. The second issue that really probably should be addressed in that application, the premises of the site are pretty broadly defined. They include their yard space, and I think that needs to be a little bit more delineated. If you're the building that's in question has a really nice porch area. It may have been their goal to incorporate that into the licensed premises. Otherwise, if they're interested in doing an outdoor use, some kind of patio or some kind of accessory use there, it likely would be a permittable use, but we really need specific information on what's going to be there, a site plan, etc. So right now, as the motion reads, the council could or could not choose to grant the license for the actual addressed premises. However, this idea, kind of amorphous idea of the site being including the yard and stuff, it's not really feasible as the application and as the site plan is stated, and the license for that aspect of it wouldn't really be appropriate right now.
So are you suggesting we amend it?
Well, the petitioners are here, and perhaps they want to give a little insight. If you're interested in granting a license for a broader defined premises, the motion would need to be amended.
What about a provisional?
This is not a provisional license. It's Class B and Class C.
And there really wouldn't be a problem with granting it to the premises being the building itself, which would include the porch, but not any of the yard area, and then later, as their plans become more concrete, then they could come back and amend the premises.
Correct. That would encompass another fee, so I would want the petitioners to be aware of that, but that would be my advice tonight based on the information that's available. If you're inclined to grant the license for the addressed premises, including the porch area, and then see what the petitioner's plan is in the future.
Yeah, the actual structure,
The structure, correct.
right. But maybe the applicant would like to enlighten us a little bit
Is
more?
there something that you have to add? Okay, we have to vote to let you speak. So,
Well, when they're applicants, I don't think
we
they
don't have
have
to?
No.
I don't think
okay,
so.
can we have you come up to the podium, please? And that's because we have a mic there so people at home can hear you. And there's also a form there to sign before you leave to sit down.
Okay. So as you know, the property on 128 West Madison Street does have a beautiful porch, and it has a really secluded backyard and a very nice front yard, and we would like to put patio tables and eating tables in both of those areas. So even,
Did you say
to
Madison
have,
Street?
yes,
Yes.
This
On
is
my
the,
phone.
Restate the address. It is correct. It's 128 East.
Oh, east, sorry,
Madison
East
Street.
Madison Street.
Thank you.
It says, on my form, it says 128 East Lake Street.
Right,
That's
they
the first point that I
corrected
brought
the
up. There was an
application.
error on that application. However, the
Has-
identified site in the motion and in the notice
Okay.
are correct, as
So,
Madison
so
Street.
that's been, okay, I get you, I'm with
Okay.
you now.
This
Okay.
is the house between the Bank of Lake Mills and the library, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think that if outdoor seating is going to be part of the license, we have to have it nailed down a little bit more than that we might put some picnic tables out there. Because what the concern would be is how you contain the area where alcohol is being consumed so that children don't get in there and get access to it. That's what the concern would be in my mind. But, you know, usually a site plan and how, you know, like maybe you would have like wrought iron fencing or something that would just delineate where is the area where the beer garden or the wine area would be.
Sure, currently there's a fair amount of landscaping that divides the areas, but, you know, if necessary, we can look into putting some other sort of structure.
Yeah, like even that decorative fencing that you can pick up in sections and spike it into the ground, those are very decorative and attractive, that might help delineate it.
It has to be in an enclosed area, certainly, and no access to and from the street, to and from the sidewalks, et cetera. So, businesses that have outdoor use downtown right now on sidewalks, like a sidewalk cafe license.
That's a
it's-
separate,
It's not the same thing, I'm using this as an analogy. They have to apply for a specific license and provide a very comprehensive site plan of that specific use. This could be contained on private property, so I see where you're going here, but we'd absolutely need something that shows how you're going to control it, how it's going to be contained, where it is. And then I believe that you have to go through the permitting process for that specific aspect of it. Either through this application, you could amend this application, or in the future, you can amend your use, essentially.
Okay.
wouldn't this be comparable to the current Mexican restaurant?
That's the analogy that we use, yeah.
Yeah, because that one's different than the other ones in town.
It's
because it is-
controlled solely on one site rather than public sidewalk.
Yeah, so could we ask them to follow the same pattern we did with that?
Yes, that would be the appropriate route.
Okay. This, what we have in front of us now does not have that.
We don't have a delineated patio or anything like
Right.
that. All they say is that they request that their site, their premises be defined as the yard and everything like that.
Now, he made it clear that the second part would cost some more money. But could we do the building itself tonight and then let them come back to us? Obviously, you're not going to be using this outside area anytime soon.
Correct.
You're looking for spring, I would think. And that, you need this as soon as possible?
It's kind of a, you know,
ASCP kind
a
of thing?
hinging
if
point
possible,
if we proceed.
Right. But we
You
could.
can do it that way. Yeah, Vicki
Okay.
kind of already laid it out.
Okay, so if we do what we can do tonight, but have you come back before you want to open in spring on the outside area, and then bring that back like we did with the Mexican restaurant thing, and then it just will cost you a little bit more, but it would be faster this way for getting in. Because otherwise, we can't do it without the other part.
That's fine.
Okay? So Vicki, what do we have to do? Or Dan, what do we have to do?
Well, it's an appropriate question either way. It depends. Right now, you have a motion in front of you.
Yes.
So-
Can we, if we pass that motion, will it give them what
It
they?
grants the Class B and the Class C for the premises defined as the address, the building
Okay.
itself.
And that would be okay for you?
That'd be fine.
No, I think it has to be a little bit more clear
Yeah.
because
More clear.
128 East Madison Street would include all of the yard, the entire parcel. So where the problem is, isn't the motion, it's the application. The application is too broad. But we could fix it in the motion by stating 128 East Madison Street with the licensed premises being the structure only.
Is that your motion to amend?
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for an amendment.
And then we can amend the license later.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Well, we're not done, but do we want her to hang around or let her sit down?
I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
We're
you
good.
can- Thank you very much. Did you sign the sheet? Thank you. Okay, so now we have a motion for an amendment. Now, any more discussion on the amendment? Okay, let's vote on the amendment.
Mr. Fritsch?
Aye.
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0 on the amendment.
Now, we have the original motion as amended. Any more discussion?
I will make the motion to adopt motion 8.
Don't
Oh, my
we-
glasses
We
on.
already
No, we
had
didn't.
that.
No, we didn't.
No, you didn't. You did the amendment.
1810-21
Oh,
as amended.
okay. Does
Second.
that bump up? Didn't we make an motion for the original?
We didn't. We just
Probably
started
not.
talking.
But it
We
wasn't,
did. We did it again.
Yep.
You gotta go like this.
I
and
thought
get
we
me
There
when I
was on the
do
original
that.
motion, and then it was amended, and
Yeah,
now
we
Mike
did
just
have a
made a
motion.
motion for the new motion as
As
amended.
amended.
So it's an as amended motion that he just made.
Okay, and
So-
that doesn't automatically happen? I thought that happened when we made an amendment, it went on the original motion.
Does it,
Well, actually, I agree with you. The vote on the amendment occurred after the original motion, so the only motion on the table at that point is already amended.
So we don't need a motion.
Right.
We've
But
got-
we'll accept your motion because it was made and because it was seconded. So right now, you have a vote on the motion as amended. It's clear as day. There's no issue.
Somebody still needs a second.
I believe
Second.
Mr.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Mr.
I
Fields
didn't, I didn't hear it either,
Mr.
so
Fields
you
He
did?
didn't either.
So it's a little strange, Robert's Rules of Order on this one. Okay. All right, any discussion on the new motion as amended? Are we ready to vote? Okay, call the roll.
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Fritsch?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, so we're done, right, with that one?
Yeah.
And you, now, do they have to do anything else? They've done their paperwork and everything, do they have to?
I will contact
Okay,
Sherie.
it's you guys now. We're
We'll talk
passing
the
the
next day
ball.
or so.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
Okay, yes, and good luck with your business. So, all right, and we'll see you in spring when you want to come back with your other half. That moves us on to discussion decision on Memorandum of Understanding Hawkins Ash CPAs for 2018, 2019, 2020 auditing services.
City Council Motion 18-10-2-2, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the City of Lake Mills and Hawkins Ash CPAs.
Okay, we need a motion and a second.
I move adoption of motion 18-10-2-2.
Second.
Thank you. We got our motion and our second. Who is the speaker on? Yes, I thought you were.
Aye, yes. So Hawkins Ash has been providing our auditing services for a lot of years, I've been with the city for more than 20 years. And we've used them that whole time. So I'd like to continue with our relationship with them. It works very well for us. They're proposing no increase for the 2018 services, and then 2019 at a 2.5 and 2020 at a 2.4% increase.
And we've had no problems.
I haven't had any problems, no. Mm-mm.
And our budget that we're going to be doing the second reading on tonight does reflect enough money to do this?
Yes.
Any other
there's no increase for the 18 audit, which is done in 19. So I just have to leave it alone now.
Okay.
In 20 and 21, I'll have to make some increases. But the average over the 3-year period is 1.6.
So that's reasonable, right? You think? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I don't think there was a motion yet.
Hmm?
Is there a motion on this
Yes,
one?
there is.
Okay.
I did it right this time.
Good.
I'm so proud of myself. Okay, let's do the roll call.
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Fritsch?
Aye.
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay. Ordinance 1193A. This is the one that is currently tabled. Petition for annexation, Andrew Stiles. I'm not going to read all of those because you're going to read them anyway. And so we have to take it off the table first. Is there a motion to, do you need to read something before I can take it off the table?
I
No,
don't think so.
okay. Someone want to make a motion to approve, no, to take this item off the table?
I move that we remove ordinance 1193A from the table.
Second.
You get to pick. I got one on each end. Sick. Okay.
Stereo.
Yes, stereo. We're doing this in stereo. Okay. All righty. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Fritsch?
Aye.
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay. Now, we're back to motion, ordinance 1193A. Do you read something now?
I'll read the title.
Yeah.
Ordinance 1193A, an ordinance annexing territory to the city of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. Parcel identification numbers, parcel A 018071312210000, parcel B 018071312230001, parcel C 018071312130027.
Okay, so we now are on the third reading, for this is the last one. Anything that we need, do we have a motion already for that?
No, you need to have a motion to
Okay.
approve ordinance.
We need a motion to approve the ordinance, okay?
I
Anybody?
move we adopt ordinance 1193A, petition for annexation, Andrew Stiles.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Now, is there some discussion? Anything we should know before we vote? Everything's in order, state got their reports in, and everybody's done what they're supposed to do, okay? No further discussion, let's go for a vote.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Fritsch?
Aye.
Ms. Schmidt?
Aye.
Mr. Fields?
Aye.
Mrs. Fritsch?
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Okay, so now things can roll there, right?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item F, ordinance 1194A, 2019 general fund budget, second reading. Would you do that for us, please?
Ordinance 1194A, 2019 General Government Budget and Tax Levy Ordinance.
Okay, and there's nothing further to do.
I did want to point out in this version, there is a typo. If you look at the line for expenses under Public Works, that 7 million should be 1 million.
Oh, that's better. We like that number much
Yes,
better.
yes, so
Okay.
that's significant. I don't know how it happened. The version I printed off of what I thought I had sent for putting in the packet is not what was sent for the packet. So I apologize. I don't know how that happened.
554% increase.
Yeah, that's not what we do.
Boy, we'd get a lot of work done next year.
Boy, we
Yeah.
would.
Yeah, that's
Wouldn't
not
be
what we
able
do
to do
at all.
anything for the next 20
Dwayne
years,
would be
but
dead.
So will you be bringing it back as a B version for the final reading?
Well, like Steve had already mentioned, there's some more changes that have to happen because of the personal property tax and the levy limit
And the
form.
expenditure restraint
Yeah.
number still coming in.
Right.
Okay, so and then that'll come back as a B version, right?
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay. And thank you for catching that error.
Well, Misty pointed it out, I said, that can't be right.
Well, nobody's perfect. So, okay, moving on to item G, ordinance 1195A, the capital budget, second reading, Misty?
Ordinance 1195A, 2019 capital budget.
Okay, any corrections? Can you find any millions of dollars that we need to?
This one's pretty straightforward.
Okay, nothing other than, will we have the same form then for the next meeting, or will there be changes again because of things have coming in?
No, this should stay pretty much the same. The only thing that might impact it is the expenditure restraint, because we may, depending on what the expenditure restraint is, we might move something from capital into the general operations, depending on how much flexibility we have in that budget. But it doesn't change the tax levy at all.
Okay, so second reading, we'll move to the third reading next meeting. Okay. Item H, ordinance 1196, annexation of Jaeger property, first reading. Misty? Or, yeah.
Yep, this is the first reading. Ordinance 1196, an ordinance annexing territory to the city of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, parcel identification number 018-0713-2422-007. The City Council of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, does ordain as follows. Section 1, territory annexed in accordance with 66.0217, excuse me, Wisconsin statutes and the attached and incorporated by reference petition for direct annexation filed with City Clerk on July 16, 2018, signed by the owner of the property proposed to be annexed. The territory currently identified as parcel 018-0713-2422-007, located in the town of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, is annexed to the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin. Excuse me. Section 2, effective annexation. From and after the date of this ordinance, the territory referred to in Section 1 shall be part of the City of Lake Mills, Jefferson County, Wisconsin, for any and all purposes provided by law, and all persons coming or residing within such territory shall be subject to ordinances, rules, and regulations governing the City of Lake Mills. Section 3, ward designation. The territory referred to in Section 1 of this ordinance is hereby made a part of the 7th Ward of the City of Lake Mills, subject to the ordinances, rules, and regulations of the City of Lake Mills governing wards. Section 4, severability. If any provision of this ordinance is invalid or unconstitutional, such invalidity or unconstitutionality shall not affect the other provisions or applications of this ordinance that can be given effect without the invalid or unconstitutional provision of application. Section 5, effective date. This ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as provided by law.
Okay, first reading. Is there anything we need to do or say about this at this time?
I'm just going to point out that there will be an amendment to it because I do not believe that's the correct date. For the, for what the filing date. I'll have to look at that, but I know it wasn't July. I apologize. So we'll come back with a corrected date on the next reading.
Oh, I see, up in the first paragraph, yeah.
If you remember, this is property we recently purchased.
Okay.
And so we own it. The parcel that we bought, a significant portion of it was in the city, but that little square in the back end was in the town. I don't know if
Oh,
you,
yeah.
it's wholly bounded by the city, and so it
That's
was our
what we're
intent
talking about, is that little portion.
Yeah, our intent to annex it now. The city has purchased that white barn on the curve and these facilities, and the intent is to have them all demoed sometime next year. The white barn will be demoed as part of the state contract. So I'm assuming first thing in the spring that building will be gone. The other one will be a contract that we put out. And whatever time works out best from a cost efficiency point for us will be when we get it demoed.
Okay.
Is there a way to find out who's demoing the white barn for the state to see if we can coordinate with them? As long as they're mobilized on site?
Yep.
Good.
Okay, so second reading will be on the next meeting. Is there any rush on this one?
No, but there shouldn't be any reason not to do it. The only thing is we haven't got the report from the state yet, right?
Correct.
So,
We couldn't do any more than, and
yeah,
if we have everything at the next meeting, we could do 2 readings at the next meeting, if
Yeah.
that helps anybody.
yeah. It's not like,
It's city owned.
yeah, we own it and it's wholly bounded by the city and it's vacant property, so.
Okay, so we're okay. All right. So, recommendations for future agendas. I'm going to mention it again now for staff. I don't know how you do this, but on maybe everybody's calendar for December 19th at Sandy Beach will be on the council agenda for that meeting.
December
18th?
Yes.
Oh, 18th?
Thank you.
Not 19th? Let's see, I got my calendar. Oh, 18th, sorry. Yep. I don't know how I got a 19 on there, but December 18th. So that'll be automatically on the agenda. If we need to move that forward, up one way or the other way, we'll deal with it when we get closer to that time.
Are we going to be looking at that as a regular council agenda item, or is this like going to be a work session?
That'll be a
type of-
regular, well, it's not a work
I guess
session,
it's-
is it? What do you
I was
think?
just curious.
It
what-
probably is a work session.
Oh, okay, so we could do the work session maybe before the council meeting? We could do that.
Is there any reason to have a council meeting on the 18th? We usually don't.
Right,
Just
well,
make that one a work session
make that a work session.
and hold that date.
Hold that date for a work
For a work
session
session?
on the 18th, not a regular council meeting.
That's fine with me.
Sound
That's what
okay?
I'd recommend.
Were we anticipating making any final decision though at that time? Or any decisions?
On the Sandy Beach?
Yeah.
I don't think we'd be
Well, if we
ready.
end up with having to make any decisions, we would schedule a regular council meeting.
Okay,
But if there's nothing that we have that where we have to make a decision, I just do a study session.
okay.
And but we can make that decision the week before.
Yeah, and then too, for the public, if it's a regular meeting, it's televised. If it's a work session, it's not. And so there could be an argument to be made to just have it be a regular meeting from that standpoint, so that the public is more aware of what we're doing. But we can wait until the time comes.
Yeah, why don't we just wait till we get a little bit closer and see what it is we're going to be doing that night?
Right,
Because if it's just a lot of us figuring out what we want to do, then we could put it on the first meeting of January to do what we want to do, and bring it up at that time.
second meeting in January.
I mean, oh yeah, second meeting, because there wouldn't be a first meeting in
Right.
January. Yeah.
The second date would still be the first meeting.
Yes. The third Tuesday of January, we're talking about.
15th.
I do that myself all the time.
Yes,
so
okay.
I get kicked.
And besides, nobody is going to be watching our program on the 18th of December because they're all going to be busy wrapping presents and decorating the house, right?
I would think so.
I would think so too. But anyway, if it's something that's significant discussion, we will make it a regular meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
We need to have John's disposal decision,
Oh, so tell me more.
so that'll be on the next agenda.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right, Misty?
I just made note of that.
Okay.
Will
Early-
somebody from John's be here so that they can
They are
explain
willing to
it?
come.
Okay.
yes.
Do we need them to come, or is it a pretty cut and dried situation?
No, I think you'd want him here. I don't think it's a cut and dried situation.
Okay, that's fine. I just
Questions, yeah.
want to make sure that it's worth their time and whatever, but yeah, okay, good. Let's ask them to come. So we do have a closed session after that meeting for evaluation. Right, Dan? Okay.
I'm not at that one though, right?
No, you're
Right.
not at, that's the one where we get together and go
Talk
through.
about you.
Yeah, talk about you, yeah, there we go. I was going to just ask if it would be possible to move up that November 1st date that was in the memo, like by Halloween, to give me a little more time to put the evaluation together. Is that
So just fill out your
To fill out the-
evaluations.
You
prior
should have
to
all gotten
October
an
1st.
evaluation in the mail.
Yeah,
Did you all?
They came last
I filed.
meeting.
Couple weeks ago. Oh, did we get it here?
No,
No, it came in the
It
mail.
came in the mail
Yeah.
with the last
Yeah.
meeting stuff.
Could we move that up just a little bit? I think the 1st of
I have a look for one, I
November.
didn't see one.
You didn't get one?
We'll get you one.
This is what it
I think I
looks.
sent it out on September 27th.
Yeah, it looked like this.
Yeah, it came with the
And
last
it
meeting
came- it
packet.
I can go back and look, see if I missed it someplace, or,
Call me tomorrow.
I got to your mailbox first.
Yeah,
it's intercepted.
yeah, good thing we talked about it, but yeah. If we could by Halloween, I can pick them up at your house if that's the case. I mean, I'd be-
Okay.
I'd be glad, yeah.
I would be
Oh,
delighted.
I'm really worried, Doug, about being able to pick up yours, so, okay. But anyway,
On the next agenda, the codification of our ordinances has been completed. So you will have an ordinance for review adopting the codification. And then we're going to have a string of ordinances that are going to be up for your review on a few different topics before the end of the year. Kind of waiting on that codification being completed so that it basically makes my process a little bit easier rather than repealing existing ordinances as they are right now. I can just skip a step and not do it twice because I'll have the right numbering and everything. So,
Will this be terribly difficult,
no,
complicated?
no. It's been a long process, but we're done.
An
So,
ongoing delay.
yeah, it's been delightful. It's good. No, I'm pretty pleased with the final product. There's ample material for you to review, but the actual adoption of the codification shouldn't be quite an issue. It's bought and paid for. It's completed in accordance with what the ordinances say right now. So it's really merely kind of structural.
It's, in other words, yeah, in
It's
other words,
format.
it's not changing the,
Not at all, no.
it's just the ordinance.
There's some items that were cleared up, that, different opinions have been provided, and that they thought that there was some ambiguity in some circumstance, but nothing substantive whatsoever. And, yeah, really, this is for the public and for users of the ordinances mostly. It's going to be very, very accessible online, very, very easy to search, very user-friendly, so it's a kind of an exciting development.
Do we get our money back if it's not?
If there's some breach of contract there, then we could pursue that if you're so inclined.
Really?
0-0.
I look forward to
oh,
it.
who's ahead?
0-0.
Oh, 0-0. Okay, just an update. The Brewers game is 0-0 at this moment. So when you turn us off, you can turn them on. All right, so anything else that we need to bring up before we close the meeting? Otherwise, as soon as I can reach the thing, adjourned.